What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Backliners podcast. It is aggro, but no Barracuda, as per usual, and this is a very first for the Backliners podcast. It's a solo show for me today, and there's a couple reasons for it. Number one, Barra is, we still haven't figured out exactly what the plan going forward is for the podcast in general. This is not him. He's not done his final show or anything like that. Don't stress. Even though Barra is no longer playing in the SPL, he still gets sick more than anyone I know. So he is just sick and feeling under the weather today. And normally we would have just skipped this week, but we have a couple exciting things to talk about. Before we get into the main point of today's show, and actually will be a short episode for once, because no one's here to rudely interrupt me in the middle of my absolute ramblings. I noticed, by the way, I've thought a lot about how our podcast doesn't have like a little intro, or some background song or anything like that, like some other podcasts that I've heard do. And I was about to go live, and I was like, oh, I could do the audio check live like I've been joking about doing, and then I was like, wait, my mic always works, and nothing else is going to be playing. This is literally just me talking for like 20 minutes straight. So sorry about that if that's not something that you're interested in. But before we get into the roster changes, which is going to be the primary thing we're talking about today, I did want to let you all know that we are doing a special interactive AMA episode next week. So Tuesday, October 24th, that is next Tuesday, we will be doing a special episode where people can join in on the show and join the call live and webcam, all that kind of stuff. Oh, nice, Aaron, you got it. Thank you. I was just about to post the link. And be a part of the show. We've done this a couple times before, and I am not trolling when I say it is the most fun shows we do on this podcast. It's always just a complete nonsense show, but it's a ton of fun. We get to hear from the community, and it is really, really fun. It is really, really enjoyable for us. So we're really looking forward to it. Check out the link in the Twitch chat, in the video description, in the podcast description, wherever you're watching or listening. And if you've been on the fence about joining our community Discord, getting access to my very exclusive 10 out of 10 ratings, because no one's told me otherwise, and so I'm going to keep saying it until someone does, and then when they do, I'm going to ignore it. Link to, my Spotify playlist of classic emo songs that I listened to in high school that we were talking about a while ago. If you want to make Barra have to watch season 3 of I Think You Should Leave, we're still planning on doing that when we hit a certain number of patrons. Patreon.com/backliners, and they will get an exclusive code to get tickets to this for free. So it's just a no-brainer. It's super easy. Patreon.com/backliners, or if you just want to grab a ticket to be able to join in, call in on the show, ask us whatever questions you want, hang out, tell a story, whatever it is, just check the description and get that link. And we'd be very appreciative for anyone who is interested in doing that, because like I said, it is easily the most fun I have doing this show. But I wanted to tell you all about that. That's why we wanted to have some type of episode today. And number two, some crazy roster changes happened. Last week. We didn't have a show last week, and then next week is going to be this interactive AMA that I was just talking about. And patch notes are tomorrow as of recording this, so really wanted to... I'm realizing that I'm like kind of cutting myself off. The classic, oh yeah, this is really good, man. Keep it up, Ryan. You're killing it right now. Just absolutely griefing this, the live show by adjusting your webcam like in the OBS. This is really good content as per usual. What was I saying? Oh yeah, there's gonna be patch notes tomorrow, so we've got to have a lot to talk about there. I didn't want to have all of our takes kind of rolled in to that episode, so I wanted to come in, and I think I've got some scalding hot takes potentially, though this comes off a lot less scalding hot after seeing the changes kind of play out, but I have some intense feelings about these changes. If you aren't aware, here's what went down. Right before the roster locks, the Dragons decided they needed to make a change. They dropped Vote and picked up Coast. Vote did not want to play anymore, is my understanding, or didn't like any of the situations that were available to him. So as far as we know, I have not heard anything different, but he is just kind of doing his own thing. That means that Stewart gets the opportunity to join the Hounds, and replace Coast. And the Gladiators move Snoopy out of the mid lane and pick up Jaru for the mid lane. So again, Coast to the Dragons, Stu to the Hounds, Snoopy over to ADC, Jaru joins in mid for the Gladiators. And I want to start with the Gladiators because I think that it's the change that has the least kind of enveloped in it, even though they technically make two changes where everyone else is only making one. I think this is obviously unfortunate for the Gladiators to have to go through another roster change. I heard a lot of talk about, what's the point of these roster locks if a player can choose to leave? And I think that is a super gross misinterpretation of what that roster lock is there to do. You don't want to jail a player, to keep a player on a team that they don't want to play on, because they've chosen to make changes before that. It's there so that you don't have the old captain just decides that they don't like anyone else on the team and they're going to hold the spot. Instead of they get kicked, they're going to kick everyone else. And, it's their team. One dude stays the same, 4 new players. That's what it's really there to prevent. I don't blame Stu for going to the Hounds whatsoever. The Glad situation was obviously not very good. That being said, I think there is a very good chance that I think the Glads get better from this change. And that is not meant as a slight to Stu, but first and foremost, let's call a spade a spade. You can't get much worse if you're the Gladiators, right? So at worst, they're staying the same off of this change, or they're getting better. I think having Snoopy, who has always been a streaky player throughout his SPL career, just trying to jumpstart him a little bit. I know that the Reddit threads are commonly anti-Evan Jones, anti-Snoopy, thinking that he is not playing well enough to deserve the spot. The extremely Stephen A. Smith voice. I was thinking about doing like a Stephen A. Smith bit for this show because it's just like, just me this time. But Evan is a good friend of mine, and that's no secret. But I think if you look at what that team has struggled with and how they have struggled, and think that Snoopy is replacing Snoopy will fix the majority of those issues. It's never, even if it is a problem player or something like that, changing one player almost never results in fixing all of your potential issues. But Snoopy, I think, has had the best individual performances. He shined the brightest in certain moments during the season of anyone on that roster. He's also had some of the lowest lows, and that is just Snoopy as a player. There are lots of players historically that have been very successful like that. I think Zap, for a lot of his career, has either looked like the best ADC in the league or had some metas or weeks or whatever it is where he really struggles. It's been a long time since Snoopy has been considered one of the best players in his role, but there was a time where he was considered the best ADC in the world. Season 2, Season 1, he was absolutely dominant, and I don't think that he gets enough credit for that time. And then he had a lot of years after that. It's not like Season 2 was his last good year. I think there's a lot of recency bias about and look, sports, esports, it's a what have you done for me lately type of business, and I totally get that. But, there's just a lot of ignorance on like, oh, Snoopy's hasn't been good in 8 years. Like, that's just not accurate at all. So I think, and if it's a what have you done for me lately type of business, I don't think that either member of the Gladiators backline has been consistently impressive at all this year. Stu obviously elevated his game to a height that we have not seen last year during the World Championship, and that's when you want your boy to be popping off the most. But that was leaps and bounds beyond where Stu had played before that. So I think that while it isn't fair to ignore that pop-off stretch for Stu, it also isn't fair to assume that that is just what he would do given the right circumstance all the time, because the sample size is so small in that way. I said it when Stu joined the Titans. I said it again this year. I'll say it again now. This is a great opportunity for Stu to solidify himself as a top tier ADC in the league. I'm rooting for him. I think he's a great dude. But I think the team that is hurt the most from this change, kind of transitioning off of that, is the Hounds. And I don't mean that as disrespect to Stu. I mean it in respect to Coast. I think Coast is the best ADC. He's in the top tier of ADCs in the league. I think that if you have anyone clearly better than him, you haven't been watching closely enough or with a critical enough eye. That dude is transformative for duo lanes. He really is. And I think he is not only in the top tier of ADCs in the league right now, I think he's in the top, if you wanted to group most impactful backliners across mid and ADC, I would put him in he wouldn't be the most impactful backliner, but he would be in the Paul tier. Not over his career. I'm talking about I have to win a game tomorrow. Which backliners are going to give me the best chance to do it? He would be in the same tier as the top tier players. Paul, Shinto, those types of guys, Yark. That is who he has been this year. And losing that type of player is devastating to a team like the Hounds, who, I mean, look, that team impressed all of us at the beginning of the year, and had a really good showing at the midseason LAN, but since then, since losing Quig, has not looked nearly as good. And I don't think that Quig was the linchpin to all of their success. He certainly deserves a ton of credit for it, as any player who was playing on the team at the time would deserve. But I don't think he was responsible to the level that we have seen in the difference in their play since he left. If we were rating them an 85 overall team after that midseason LAN, I'd struggle to rate them higher than 65 right now on a scale from 1 to 100. Quig was not 20 overall on that team over Neil. You know what I mean? I think Ducky has played a lot worse. I think their front line, Ducky and Quig worked really well together. Ducky and Neil have not worked very well together quite yet. I think individually, Ducky's lanes haven't been quite as good. I think Oath has looked really timid again, which has always been a problem that's plagued him at times during his career. I think that Benny has looked really good for the most part. I think that he and Coast were the brighter spots that continued into this phase. But, and Neil is obviously still needing to get back to a spot where he is a top contributor in his role. He has not reached that level again quite yet. It's not to say that they can't, but they lost one of the best backliners in the entire league. And that's going to be difficult. So I think the Hounds definitely are dealt a big blow by losing Coast, because I am extremely high on him as a player. And I think that they will definitely miss that presence. So far, quick recap. I think Glad's even to slightly better. Oh, I didn't talk about Jaru at all. That guy is really good. I've watched him kind of, I believe, I'm really hoping I'm right, but I'm like 99% sure that he started on PS4. And I was casting his games in the Smite console league way back, or the Smite console circuit. Was there a league on? Yeah, there was a league on PS4. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was there, or he was definitely console. Maybe it was Xbox and not PS4. But he has really grown as a player over the years. Okay, Bobby's saying he started on Xbox but switched to PS4 to compete on it. Thanks, Bob. Yeah, I've been a fan of his game for a while. I think he is absolutely deserving of the shot. I think if you look at the way he played in their set against the Ferrymen this weekend, something that we typically see from a player getting their SPL debut against freaking Paul, by the way, they play... Scared is a too negative a terminology. They play with too much respect for these guys, and it's really hard not to. Like, I can tell you, I remember when we started scrimming against Envy, and we were playing against Allied and Weekend and Omega and all these huge names that I've been watching for years. I definitely think it affected my play for a little bit in scrims right away, because you just don't feel... I felt like I wasn't playing with that same amount of confidence. Like, oh, I can outplay this guy here. It's like when you're playing a fighting game against someone who's really good, and you think like, oh, they wouldn't end this string unsafe because they know I can punish it, so they must be trying to meaty me here. I've got to respect that. But you don't. These players are truly great, but they will also give you opportunities at times. And I think that Jaru did not play with too much respect. He played his game, and that is not something that we always see coming into the league. And I'm rooting for him as well. I'm really glad that he's getting his shot, and I think that he definitely has the tools to succeed. Now, is he in the position to succeed with how the Gladiators have struggled? I think the Glads and the Hounds are actually, now that I think about it, this is not something I meant to talk about, but this is how we always go along. There's not something that I had really put together before now, but I feel like the Glads and the Hounds are in really similar positions right now. No? Because I think a lot of both of those teams' struggles center around the front line being on the same page as one another and making the right fights for their team. I think that Kana, I'm seeing a lot of tendencies that worry me if I'm a Glads fan. And I think that, obviously understanding his situation, not, he's playing on ping, all that kind of stuff. But recently I think that he has struggled. I think Jake has certainly not looked like the same player that was unquestionably the best support in the league in phase 1. And that those two factors combined, and Kiermi has not had his best year. And I feel the same way about the Hounds. Like I was just saying, I feel like the biggest difference is the level of Ducky's playing with his support is not nearly as good as it was with Quig. I don't know. I feel like the front line, both teams are making changes that affect the back line, but both of those teams, in my opinion, their problems are more frontline focused than backline focused. So It could be just a lot of change without actually impacting, being impactful change. So we'll have to wait and see on that. That brings us to the main change, I suppose. The catalyst that started it all, the Dragons kicking vote and picking up Coast. When this roster change first got announced, a lot of the initial reaction that I saw on my timeline was, this is absolutely criminal to kick vote. That vote is one of the most unanimously respected pros I've seen in the history of the SPL. People don't I have basically never seen anyone say anything bad about vote. Liam is a great dude, really fun, really genuine guy, and has been a pretty consistent player throughout his time in the SPL. And just like I was saying earlier, do I think that one player is basically ever capable of fixing a team's all of a team's problems by themselves? No, I don't think so. I think that Vote's career, if this is it for him, is one that will get a lot of respect, and deservedly so. He's an undoubtedly impressive player over his career. But all of that being said, I'm doing the whole thing where I build him up. It's kind of like compliment sandwich or whatever you want to call it. Let's just go full Stephen A, shall we? I really like Vote. I wish him the best. This was the right change for the Dragons. And it wasn't necessarily that, again, Vote was the problem or anything like that. But how many times can this team, this core that we always talk about, right, of Vote Nika Dardes, how many threads, how many tweets is everyone sending out where it's like, oh, reverse swept again. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. Of course we knew they were going to get reverse swept. Up 2-0, they're going to lose, all this kind of stuff. And then a change gets made to that core and everyone's like, what? That's not fair. The time to make a change there has long since passed. And it's not like that. What made it hard is that, number one, all three of those dudes, Vote, Nika Dardes, are all incredibly likable, good guys who care a lot, who try really hard, and don't, go on Twitter or streams complaining, all that kind of stuff. They are true professionals, and they show that they care when they lose in those heartbreaking scenarios, and that makes you want to root for them, as you should. And they're all good, right? That's the other part of it. They're all really good, and they work well together. They're friends. They've talked about it a lot. If there were an obvious weak link in that trio, they wouldn't be a trio, right? They would have not stayed together for so long that they're considered a trio. But we've talked about this forever, that at least on this show, I've been very skeptical that no change has been made to this core over the longest period of time. And you can say, I think that when it comes down to it, just like we talked about with Berra getting replaced by Zap, where the best free agent available is in your role, so you just get the short end of the stick because that's the tiebreaker. Things need to be tiebreakered, right? If Coast is willing to join your team, you need to do it if you're in that position. Because Vote, as good as he has been over his career, has he ever been in the true best of the best tier of backliners? I would say no. He's been really good. He's been really solid. but he hasn't been in that top tier, in my opinion, probably ever. If he was at a time, maybe, I think the PK year he was going really crazy. He was playing really well. You just have that opportunity. Dardes is the name that I've been seeing a lot more. It's, Dardes is God Pool, doesn't play the meta stuff. That's the guy they should have kicked. Dardes has been in that top tier of backline multiple times in his career. We know that he can get there and stay there for an extended period of time. Dardes possesses a quality, like not playing the meta gods can be a weakness, when Jake didn't play Umoja, when Bobby couldn't play Umoja, like that was a problem for those teams. I don't think that mid lane has gods that are that important. Like those, the gods that a meta god is meta for a reason, right? It's because they do something better than other gods, or they fill a role that no other god can quite fill, or they're just doing the same thing as other gods better. If it's obviously way better than everything else, yes, you need to be able to play it, or it is going to hamstring you in your draft. There has not been a god that is that much better that could ever get through in maybe half a decade. Like, I'm not even kidding. The reason Umoja, it was such a big deal to not be able to play Umoja, is not because it's because she did something unique. Like, she does something that no other god in the game can do. And if you don't have that, then it becomes a problem. But if it's just numbers that's making a god better, or it's just you need a certain style, then he can play picks that can be along that style. Bobby saying my team couldn't play around Umoja IMO. I agree that was part of it, but Bobby, at the very beginning, the buttons weren't working, my guy. Eventually you did get there, and then you became a very good Umoja. But at the beginning, at first it was buttons, then it was team. I'll meet you halfway there. The cooldown build went nuclear. Yeah, my blood pressure went nuclear looking at it. Everyone's saying in the chat, they're saying set. Why do you need him to play set? What does set do that something else in Dardes' god pool can't do? Have you seen him play Erlong into set? He bodies that god. Why do I have to care about him playing Erlong or playing set when he'll just pick Erlong into it? And I'm sure that's not the only god that he can play into that matchup. If any team is playing the Dragons and plans on playing set mid and doesn't ban Erlong, then they are griefing from here on out, by the way. I would, if my game plan is playing set mid against the Dragons and I'm not taking care of Erlong, or going with the play, like you could do something like pick set, know he's picking Erlong, pick a bunch of gods that dumpster Erlong. Pick your Ares, pick your Cirquettes, all that kind of stuff. Dardes not playing meta is not a weakness to me. Maybe I'm sure that there have been metas in the past where I've said it is, I think, impacting their draft, but being able to play things that no one else is playing is often a strength. And I think it certainly is for Dardes. That guy does have top tier backliner potential. We've seen this from him before. We have not seen that from Vote recently, especially. And I just don't think you might be able to replace Dardes with someone more consistent than him. But the list of guys just outright better with more potential than Dardes is Check's list, Paul. The end. That's it. And Paul's the best player to ever live, in my opinion. So, he's better than everyone else. When I've been critical about this core, it's been because I am a believer in particularly Dardes. I think he has the most variance of the trio. I agree with what Neon's saying. Dardes is bad is actually 8th best mid laner. That is probably true. Dardes is good is as good or better than Paul. in a series. And that is more valuable than inconsistency. For a team like the Dragons in particular, because think of it this way. I've talked about this with ranked. You're going to play 100 ranked games, okay? You are going to lose 30 of those ranked games, no matter how well you play, because you're just going to get team capped, or your team is going to be, you're going to have a mental baby on your team who's going to rage quit or whatever. And that's just a reality of multiplayer match-made games. You're going to win 30 of those games, no matter how hard you int, as long as you actually try and play, because their team will have a mental baby, or your team will just be better. They'll be having an off day, whatever it is. Ranked is all about what you do with those 40 games that are left out of the 100, right? Those are the ones you can actually impact. On a pro team, you can think of it a little bit the same way, where Dardes having a bad game, or whatever, your jungler. Well, jungle is too important. Let's go with ADC, okay? Your ADC having a bad game sometimes won't even matter, because the rest of your team is going to pop off so hard, they're going to make plays, and you can win the game. Especially as your team gets better, as the team around you improves, you can afford to be less consistent, which is a little bit counterintuitive, because you'd think that increased consistency would lead to increased team quality. Like, you're on better teams the more consistent you are, and that is true, but it's more valuable. I said this when it came to, who was it? Netrioid. Was it last year? I think it was. Netrioid is this type of player too, right? Where he's going to have hard pop-off games, and he's going to have stinkers, right? And he's going to have some things in between. The better your team is, the more insulated you are against losing those bad games where he's having a bad game that your team might be able to just pop off and win anyways. Like, sure, Net inted this fight, but Pagon made an insane play, 1v3'd, and we won anyways. So it becomes more valuable, in my opinion, to have 4 really consistent players and then your one wild card, so to speak. Your one, we don't know. And is there a chance that a guy like Dardes can, Game 5, World's Finals, make that game unwinnable for you? Yes. But there's a chance for the most consistent player in the world to do that, number one. But I agree that there is risk in having a player who is more prone to something like that. But I'd say, if we're assigning arbitrary values, Dardes is at least 2 times to 3 times more likely, even when he's not playing at his best, to make a play that no one else on Earth would make, and win you Game 5 of World's Finals. So I would just rather have, personally, for my team construction, I'm fine with 1 wild card per team, even at the highest level. Now, would I rather have 5 Pauls who are all Omega consistent and have that pop-off potential and basically never lay a stinker? Yeah, of course. But I'd also like to have won the lottery by now, So that's not exactly a fair assumption. I think that overall, I'm extremely high on Coast. I think a change needed to be made for the Dragons. I saw a lot of comments saying, I don't know if this really helps the Dragons' chances. Do they get better from this? Does their chances of winning worlds go up? And I swear I was going to say this on the podcast last week before we saw them play. I've just got a feeling about that team with making this change. I really do. I think they are now, to me, they are in the top tier of potential. And that's, again, as I've always said, it's a binary thing. Were they capable of winning worlds with vote? Yes, they were. They were capable. Were they likely? No. Not at all. No one, I don't think anyone right now is likely in the league. I really don't. Because likely to me would be, I would take them at, I think in order for me to say that something is, the technical definition would be, I would take them versus the field. But in reality, in something like this, like if I thought a team was 40% and the field was 60% to win Worlds, I would call that likely. I think they are now about as likely, in my opinion. They are about as likely to win Worlds as any team, including the Warriors, the Ferrymen, the Leviathans, the Kings, anything like that. How many teams do I think can win Worlds right now? That's a tough one. That's a really tough one. I'm just trying to decide if I think the Kings can right now. I think they will be able to. If Worlds was starting tomorrow, I would say it is 4 teams. If Worlds was starting tomorrow, I would think that it is the Dragons, in no particular order, Dragons, Warriors, Levi's, Ferrymen, I think are the 4 teams that I would say are most likely. I would say Kings and Ravens are in a tier below right now. Oh, Dara is in chat. He says, believe it or not, there's always a reason why I'm not playing a certain meta god. It could be this god doesn't really work well on this team, or I know how to counter this meta god. Yeah, and like I said, people... gods are meta because of what they do, or how much they do it, if it's numbers. And the chances that a meta is literally ever solved is legitimately 0. It is impossible. It's not possible for any team at any given point, in my opinion, I truly believe this, to have the 5 best gods with the exact perfect item builds for all 5 of them. I don't think you take a snapshot of any moment in Smite's history, no team, and if they could blind pick, they wouldn't get it, by the way, is what I'm saying. No team has ever, in the history of Smite, had the 5 actual best gods to win the game with the actual item builds and relics and everything like that to give them the best chance to win. It's an impossible puzzle to solve. That's what makes it really fun. So metas change, right? Like, why do metas change throughout a tournament? We talk about tournament metas. Balance changes don't happen mid-tournament. People find things to exploit. They find new things to do. They find counters. The reason, I said this before, we could not touch Smite for 2 years, right? We could all walk away after patch notes tomorrow and go, yep, this is Smite for the next 2 years. The meta would drastically change over those 2 years. Drastically. So yeah, I think overall, of course, dude, how did I talk for this long? This is absurd. What is wrong with me? All in all, I wish Vote the best. I think he's a great dude. I think it was the right move for the Dragons. I think if there were a transformative player available in solo, I think switching Nika out instead of Vote for a top of the line solo laner would still make sense. But even in that sense, Nika has been the best solo in the league for a stretch, right? Vote was always really, really good. I don't think that at any point he was the best ADC in the league. And that capability, I think, was he capable of it? Yeah, he was capable of it, but something had to happen. If you want to give yourself the best chance. Coast is, if not the best ADC in the league right now, one of the best ADCs in the league right now. You take the opportunity when you can. Absolutely crazy how it turns out. I am wrapping up here, but I will say Absolutely insane for the Leviathans to 3-2 the Ferrymen on Friday. The storyline coming out of that set is, they've solidified themselves as the team to beat right now alongside the Warriors. It's Leviathans and Warriors, top tier. Ferrymen who looked like they were playing better than Leviathans up there. And the Dragons crushed them in that 3-game set. Game 3 was close, and this is something that I want to talk about as well. Game 3, Dragons are in a good spot, but game is still up in the air. Dardes has a little bit of an oopsie there in Game 3, right? He's playing Morrigan. He tries to stun Kennett. He has no relics. Dardes has no relics. Kennett jumps it. They one-tap him. Dragons lose fire. They're up 2-0 in this set. Everyone on the planet who is tuned in to the history of Smite, who's been watching all that kind of stuff, has got to be thinking, this is where it happens, right? The reverse sweep starts with this moment. Because that's typically how it happens, right? Is it just takes one mistake, the ball gets rolling against them, and then the universe seems to direct its ire at them in that moment. I don't think that Vote was causing them to get reverse swept before this gets taken into context. I don't think that they guaranteed lose that game with Vote, right? But don't you think it's a little bit poetic in a way to be on the verge of losing, to be right on the precipice of that happening again? Not losing games 3 and 4 and then be on 5 and then, Coast pops off, anything like that. But to win that game and close it out and solidify it, I think is a really incredible little snapshot of what this could mean. And I'm saying, if I'm making the 30 for 30 documentary about the Dragons winning year 10 worlds in a year, you know what I mean? If that's what ends up happening, I'm absolutely hammering in on that moment right there. I'm going to that exact moment. I'm zooming in and I'm saying, this is where it felt different to me. And those are always overblown, overhyped. Did it actually feel different in that moment? Almost certainly not. But it's a what if, And I think that it exemplifies, it could be a big turning point for the Dragons, is basically what I'm saying. Okay. That does it. My God, I have a problem. Hopefully you all enjoyed this solo shot episode talking about the roster changes. Again, next week, October 24th, 8 p.m. Eastern, we are doing our live interactive AMA. You can get tickets by clicking the link in the description of the video, the podcast, the chat, whatever you want to do. Patrons to us, patreon.com/backliners, they will be getting a code to get their ticket for free. So you can join in there literally like $5 a month, I think. You can do it once. Just do it for $5. You get to stay in the community Discord. We're not going to kick you out. I'm not a cop. We've been knowing that about me. Come hang out. We want to talk to you guys in our community Discord. It's a great time. October 24th, we'd love to see you there. It's the most fun we have. And yeah, I was thinking, I see some of our patrons in chat right now. I'm just going to ask live. Should I answer our random question of the week from our community Discord, or should I save it for Barry next week? We can kind of kick off. Normally for those interactive AMAs, we have to wait for everyone to kind of get in there and do it. Should I solo answer some of these, or do you want me to start the show with those questions from the random question of the week channel next week? How are we feeling? Do you want me to go another 45 minutes talking about these random questions? Because we all know that that's a possibility. Okay, we're split. Anger Piglet says start next show. Then It's Time says solo it. Okay, Bookie has solo it. I mean, it's a best of 5, just like the SPL. Solo. All right, Neon said it. Here we go. We're going to the Patreon Discord. Random question of the week. Wait, I can use my computer because normally, anyways, you don't have to get all that. Okay. Patreon.com/backliners if you want to get on this, or actually even better, go to the link, or you can do it and then get the link for free. I've already done the spiel. Hiru asks, what is one thing that you absolutely cannot wait to show your son when he gets older or is old enough to comprehend? Activity, personal belonging, or even a concept? Great question, Hiru. Yes, this is the short episode. Aaron, don't cook me, man. Okay. I'm so excited. Ace of the Diamond is an anime that I love. It's a baseball anime. And in it, the catcher is like the coolest character in the entire world, right? I can't wait to watch Ace of the Diamond with my son and inspire him to become the greatest Major League Baseball catcher of all time. That is going to be awesome. I can't wait. Or he's going to be a pitcher because it's all about, it's all about pitching, basically. Well, it's just all about baseball. But yeah, anyways, he's going to love it. I love it. I can't wait to do it. But I realized that I don't want to watch the dub, so I have to wait until he can read, which is going to be like pretty well in order to read anime subtitles. It's going to be a while. I'm a little salty about that. Oh, here we go. Let me, I have to disable this. There we go. Messi asks, how was my day? It was long, and it continues to get longer due to my own fault. But, not too bad. Master Zahir asks, recently moved back to the Atlanta area and was wanting some suggestions for top places to golf, disc golf, date activity, and dinner date. Also, as a new dad, what sport are you looking most forward to teaching your son to play? Well, first of all, welcome back to the Atlanta area, Master Zahir. It depends. The Atlanta area is so big. I'll message you in the Discord about what particular area you are in order to give you some recommendations on like disc golf spots, whatever. I've got a lot of great restaurant suggestions. I guess if anyone from the Atlanta area is listening, Little Alley Steakhouse is obscenely expensive, but obscenely worth it. Best food I've eaten in America, bar none. Just unbelievable place to eat. Also, Coletta is a great Italian restaurant, not too far from the High Res Studios, and Jinya is a great ramen spot. Those are some immediate ones that come to mind. The sport I'm most looking forward to teaching my son to play, I love baseball, so baseball's definitely up there. Disc golf is, I think, going to be great, though, because that's something that, just the two of us can do, and is going to be a lot of fun. So basically all of them, though. I love playing catch. I'm down to just play catch with my friends in the backyard as a 31-year-old man. I can't wait for him to be old enough to play catch, and hopefully, maybe he won't like playing catch. Maybe he won't like sports. That's up to him. But I'm hoping he does, because I just want to play catch in the backyard. That sounds like so much fun. Yoma asks if you could have any band or artist compose a Backliners theme song, who would you want most? This is a great question. Okay. Initial thought is Bayside, because that's where I got the gamertag Aggression. So Bayside comes to mind first. I don't know if they make the best theme song, though. Who made the Drake and Josh theme song? Them. I hope that isn't Drake, though, because, he's not good man. But, yeah, if it isn't Drake Bell, whoever made the Drake and Josh theme song. Also from Yoma, inspired by Ludwig's Smash Boxing, what current or former SPL player would you bet on to win a Smite boxing event? It's Drake. Unlucky. You hate to see it. They would have to compete in a best of 7, alternating between a gentleman's duel on her agreed upon mirror match and IRL boxing. Current or former SPL pro? The first name that comes to mind, they'd have to be able to win in Smite too, so that one wouldn't work out quite as well. The first name that came to mind, I don't remember if Medieval ever played SPL. He played SCL, and I just follow him on Twitter and know that he's into doing UFC stuff. He does UFC fighting or whatever. So I like his odds on the IRL boxing, but if we, Medieval's not going to compete with the top end of on her jousters. You know what I mean? I probably like Mike. There. PBM is without thinking about it too hard, I'm going PBM. My boy B-Dubs asked, what is the best movie series to exist, and what is your favorite installment in it? Wow, great question. Best movie series. Okay, this is cheating. This is for sure cheating. You guys are not going to allow this. I want to say Into the Spider-Verse, the Spider-Verse movies, the animated ones from Sony, and Across the Spider-Verse, just the last one. yeah, I'm gonna move on before anyone can tell me that doesn't count. Those two movies are unbelievable, just unbelievably good. I love it. J-Man asks, my favorite comfy clothes for upcoming cold weather. I'm wearing them right now, J-Man. This is going to be really good podcast content as per usual. I'm just going to stand up here and kind of back up a little bit. See these purple checkered PJ pants? I don't want to tell you guys how many days a week I usually wear these things. These are my dad's PJ pants that one time when I was home in the summer, it was like really cold night in Pittsburgh and I didn't have any long pants and I was staying at his house. So he just like gave me these PJ pants and I was like, oh my God, these are the absolute best PJ pants I've ever worn. They aren't too warm. They're nice. Like the texture is nice. They're too big on me. Like they're too long and I am like a good 5 inches taller than my dad. So these things must have been like dragging on the floor for him. But I think they're Ralph Lauren. I don't know. They're the best. I love PJ pants. Love them. Love them, love them, love them. And then last but not least is Neon Kerm. A specific moment in Stormlight that made me want to get my tattoo. Yes. Yeah. I don't want to like spoil anything though. But for those who don't know, again, really good podcast content. I have a tattoo inspired by the Stormlight Archives, which is my favorite book series of all time, by my favorite author of all time, Brandon Sanderson. And just the I'm trying to think of the right wording here. There wasn't a specific moment, I guess. I thought the idea, like the way in which the words that I got tattooed on my arm are handled and like the context of them in the series, those are always my favorite moments in the books. So that in general, I do want to get another Stormlight tattoo that I've been really struggling with how I want to present it. I could, this one is pretty big. My next one that I want to get is from Stormlight is not as long, but I'm not sure that I just want to get it in. This is Woman Script is the name of the text basically. And I think it looks very cool. And is like a fully fledged, like written out, like written language that he's made with the characters and all that kind of stuff. So I should just hit the hour mark for fun, right? Yeah, I want to get, I might just end up getting it in Women's Script again. I might not. But yeah, there was a specific moment from book 4 that I want to get a tattoo of. But man, truly, and I mean this like extremely sincerely, a life-changing series for me. The impact that it had on me, I mean, it's just like unbelievably entertaining, but also I think the thing that makes me connect with that series so well is that Sanderson writes mental health and depression and all that kind of stuff just like just with in a way that I've experienced nowhere else, and that's what really made it resonate with me. But it's not like just this uber depressing, like, super dark. I don't know. It's a lot to get through. There's a spiel I give everyone. It is an insane amount of words to get through. It is long. Don't worry about finishing it, or, it's not about the destination. It's about the journey. I highly, 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 highly recommend to everyone to give it a shot. Way of Kings is the first book. Yeah. Changed my life. Not kidding. Unbelievable series. Can't recommend enough. Okay, that does it. Thanks everyone for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed the solo ramblings of a sleep-deprived, mentally unstable man for an hour. And we will see you next week, 10/24. Next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Get your tickets in the link. It's about wanting to hang out. It's the most, I look forward to this I would do these shows every week if we could. Like, I love them that much. I'm truly looking forward to it. So I hope to see you there. And again, if you want to join the community Discord, the Patreon, you can get in for free. Patreon.com/backliners. Oh my God. Excuse me. I do have to do the buy, don't I? Oh no. I should have prepared a soundboard or something like that for this. Okay, let me get a drink of water here. Yep. Here we go. Okay. Thanks for watching and listening, everyone. And until next time, aggro, I guess. I know what to do. Bye. Oh, it was terrible. Oh, it was so bad. That was so embarrassing. Don't tell Barra it was that bad, okay? Everyone? Don't tell him. That's embarrassing.